Well, we'll get back to Sophia George and that one at a later time. It is 11 o'clock, and I did promise you folks that we'll be having a very special interview for you this morning. Good morning to those of you joining us now via GBN television and our social media platforms. And this morning, folks, we'll be talking about crisis management and crisis response. And we have an expert in the field with us this morning, joining us all the way from Trinidad and Tobago via Zoom, Miss Carla Williams-Johnson. And she is an award-winning media marketing specialist. And her company, Carly Communications, offers marketing advice to entrepreneurs and business owners who are interested in building a business in the real world. She's been featured in many global publications, including Forbes, Huffington Post, Thrive Global, Business Digest magazine, and many others. And this morning, we have the pleasure and the distinct honor of having her with us on Classic Radio. Carla, good morning and welcome to the Mid-Morning Buzz.
Good morning. I'm not all the way in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm just right around the corner, right down the street.
Right on the street. But these days when planes not flying as we want them to, it's a far way off. But it's good to have you.
Right. Yes, thanks so much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. How was Trinidad this week?
Oh, Trinidad is fabulous as usual. We are on a little mini lockdown. Just for the next 3 weeks, our COVID cases are kind of going a little high. Mm-hmm. So we're in a mini lockdown, no congregating, the bars and stuff are closed. I don't know how Trinis will survive for the next 3 weeks. No beaches for the next 3 weeks. So we'll see how it goes after that.
If you got through no carnival, I think you'd be fine.
Listen, I was one of those people that had a dread carnival to Banga. You have no idea. And I completely understand. If I can get through that, I can get through that.
Yeah, you guys will be fine. I'm not worried. I was worried for the carnival, but you got through that. I was like, you guys going to be fine. I've seen the numbers too. And I'm thinking your expertise and the service that you offer, maybe you need to be speaking to your Prime Minister as well.
That is a separate conversation that we need to have. Not a conversation over here, but yes, I agree with you.
Yeah. So people hearing crisis management, crisis response, I think we have quite a few of those going on right now. The COVID pandemic, can we term it as a crisis at this point?
Well, it is. It is a crisis because at the end of the day, a crisis means it's something that has happened very sudden, that, for whatever reason you were not prepared for, or it has affected your business and, of course, your livelihood. So, yes, I would call it a crisis, and it is a continuing crisis, but a lot of people have been managing it quite well, I must add. So, therein lies the whole crisis response, crisis management, because when COVID first hit, yes, there was a lot of chaos, there was a lot of unknowns. Information we were seeking was coming whenever it came. We didn't know what was happening. But a lot of people were able to do well with the information that they've gotten.
And how can people know when they're in a crisis? And I have some people that might say, I've been in a crisis for years. Can you be in a crisis for years?
Oh, my God. Well, yes. But, at some point, you'll have to admit that, yes, I am actually in a crisis and I need to do something. So first things first, as I mentioned before, a crisis is something that happens very suddenly. So here in Trinidad and Tobago, one of the crises that we always have to prepare for is natural disasters like flooding. When rain falls here, it's pretty bad. So if you're in a flood-prone area, you need to be able to have some sort of plan in the event that flooding happens to your business. How are you going to manage your customers, your employees, your suppliers? How are you going to close up business? So you must have some sort of plan. So these are some of the things that we can prepare for in advance. With respect to COVID, which it was very sudden, this is where the response comes in first, and then you put a plan afterwards, right? So COVID was something that happened out of the blue. Granted, it came to us in March last year. I'm not sure when it hit Grenada, but it came to Trinidad in March last year. But we were hearing about it for months prior. So some businesses were able to say, well, okay, this may very well touch our shores. Let me do something in the interim with the limited information that I have. So they were able to start putting things in place in the event people needed to work from home. They were able to put things in together. For example, there are some businesses that started using delivery services. Even before people were not allowed to go out, they were encouraging people to use delivery so they can send their products or their services straight to your home. So those were the businesses and are the businesses that are doing really well today because they were able to take the crisis before it happened and look for solutions before it became a situation where, oh my God, I can't do anything.
I got you. I think a lot of people were caught off guard though, because I mean, it probably came to Grenada. I think it was March as well. We had the first case here, but we were seeing it on the outside, and in the region, we like to feel we special. I don't think we thought it was going to be around a whole year later.
I don't think we thought it was as serious as it was, right? I mean, we hear things all over the world all the time.
And then you're hearing President Trump about the Chinese virus, and we're thinking it's over there. You know, you're not overly concerned until it was here.
Exactly. And I think that is where crisis management comes into play. You don't wait until something comes to then do something. Now, if it caught you off guard, as you mentioned, and we weren't hearing about it before and it just kind of happened, that's different. But if you are hearing things in the event that it happens to you, this is my plan and this is how I'm going to fix it and this is how I'm going to make sure things work the way it's supposed to work before it touches our shores. Because you know what? Prevention is better than cure, as they say, right? Some people, unfortunately, did not take heed and they waited until things happened and they were basically playing catch up. These were the ones who all of a sudden needed to be on digital. They needed to be on social media. They were never on social media before and they just ran to Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is that they needed to do. These are the people that all of a sudden decided, I'm going to do a website. But the thing is, when you make a strategy, and this is a little marketing here, right? When you have a strategy that's planned on hope or stress, it rarely ever works out because there's no continuation of that plan. Yes, I hopped onto social media, but it takes a while to build a community. So hopping on social media is not going to change anything overnight. Having a website is not going to change things overnight, right? So this is where crisis management comes in. What do I do in the event the unexpected happens? What is my plan of action? Let's look at COVID, for example. COVID is a perfect example. We heard COVID was coming, and we know that social distancing or some type of social distancing would be the recommendation, right? Even before it came here. We knew that people would have now started to have to work from home. How do we manage our team? Who manages our intellectual property, the things that we have to use daily that we don't want anybody else to know because only our staff needs to know? How are we going to manage our staff that has kids that now have to homeschool these children if we're working on a remote team where some people come in and some people don't? People have children that now have to be home from school. Some of us have toddlers like me, right? What am I going to do with a 3-year-old when I'm trying to focus on the work that I have to do from 8 to 4:30 or whatever my working hours are? So this is where having a plan comes in place. You don't wait until something happens because it will take too long to figure things out. Time doesn't wait for your business to fix itself. You need to put things in place before.
I want to go back a bit to your definition of crisis, and you had the word in there that it triggered a question in my brain. You said it has to be a sudden
and unexpected.
Right, but I'm looking, for instance, at the volcano situation in St. Vincent. And the scientists, they've been advising since the dome started to build for months that an eruption was inevitable, more or less. I see it as a crisis, but I don't see it as sudden.
That's the thing, right? So sudden unexpected is relative, right? So sudden unexpected in this respect means I thought I had more time before the volcano erupted. And oh my goodness, I woke up Friday morning and there's ash in the air, right? So in this respect, it is relative. Maybe you thought you had a lot more time to plan. But what you should have done was from the time the information came to you, do something with it. Do you need to back up your files, right? In the event you need to leave the country or move to another part of the country, what is your plan for your staff? What is your plan for your customers? What is your plan? What is your plans for your inventory if you have to physically move hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of material and merchandise? What is your plan for that? So don't wait until, don't try to think that you have time to figure these things out. These things should have been figured out, as you mentioned before, when the report started coming saying, you know, an eruption is going to happen. We're not sure when, but it's going to happen. There are some people, I am almost certain, didn't think it was actually going to happen. I mean, yeah, it's going to erupt, but we have plenty time for that, until it actually happened on the day. And on the day, there was no time to think. That is the purpose of crisis management, to have a plan, because on the day, you don't have time to think. When rain falls here, right? Yes, there are times when rain will fall that you won't be flooded out. But when rain falls, and it falls for 2-3 days, and you have water up to your neck, which actually happens in some places in Trinidad and Tobago, you don't have time to think. You don't have time to pull files. By that time, your file's underwater anyway. You're supposed to have a plan before that happens.
So you would probably advocate that the first step in crisis management is planning for different eventualities.
Anything. Once you live in a particular country, region where something may happen, then that's the thing you have to plan for first. Mm-hmm. There are some companies here in Trinidad and Tobago that may have a plan for flooding, but they never use it because they're not in a flood-prone area. They're just not. But there are some that would need utilizing that regularly. And that's another thing with having a plan. You need to go through that plan and practice that plan in a practical sense. Because if you wait for something to happen, you won't know where the gaps in your plan is. You won't know how to fix those gaps because you would not be in a position to do so. So you need to do these checks and balances. People leave jobs, people start jobs. Who is responsible for what? If you have somebody new, then you may have to train them. Even suppliers change from time to time. What do you expect from your suppliers in the event something happens? And go through a real life plan so that when something happens, you're not like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. You have a very clear idea of what to do. And there are different types of crises. I mean, I know I'm talking a lot about natural disasters, but there are technological breakdowns, right? The internet just decides it just doesn't want to work. If your business is 100% based upon the internet, what are you going to do when you can't make a sale because the internet is down and you can't make that connection? What's your plan? What's your backup plan, right? There are situations where your employees may say or do something on social media that is against the company values, right? And showcases the company in a bad light. What do you do in the event that happens, right? How do you reprimand them? How do you get back into the good graces of your public based on how terrible whatever the statement was or whatever it is that they did, right? So there are different types of things that you need to plan for your business. You just need to know what are the things that are likely to happen and plan for that.
Mm-hmm. I agreed. You mentioned the different types of crisis, and you just highlighted a couple of them. In your experience, what are some of the more common types of crises that you would experience?
Personally, what I have seen, I mean, there are quite a few, but the one that I see most prevalent is people and how they use social media. I think a lot of people think that because they're on a laptop or some sort of device, they can hide behind the camera and do and say what they want. And they either showcase themselves, their business, if they're a CEO or business owner, or even their company in a negative light. And I'm always seeing companies issuing apologies, trying to figure out what to do. If it is that the person has to be fired and all of those types of things, that's a knee-jerk reaction because clearly they didn't have a plan because they didn't think that that was something going to happen. Even people who own their own businesses, we saw it here very clearly right after our general elections, right? People were saying all different things, and some of them owned companies and they had to be issuing apologies and stuff like that. I'm not saying that these things don't happen, but what I am saying is you have to be very mindful when you're on social media. Social media is not a place for you to air your dirty laundry or to say and do certain things because you feel there's a screen between you and whoever you want it, whatever it is that you're saying. You have to be able to use social media effectively. And also as a business owner, you have to be able to train your staff on how best to use their social media, because at the end of the day, they are your brand's ambassadors, right? They may be working for you, and yes, they may be collecting a salary, but at the end of the day, they are your brand ambassadors, and you want them to always have the company's reputation in the best light possible, right? So that's the one I see most often all the time, that the way people use social media.
Would you agree? Because I've seen comments, I've seen some of the apologies you mentioned, but I'm always hearing people saying, especially, it's my page, I will do what I like on it.
What I want. Yeah.
How do business owners and managers deal with that? Because it's your page, yes, but as you say, you're a brand ambassador. What you put out, especially if you're in a customer service area, so people probably associate you with that business. Can an employer sanction what you put out on your page on social media?
I don't think they can sanction it, but I think business owners need to do, I guess this would be like an HR function, but they need to manage the type of people that they bring into their company. Because yes, it's true that some people will say it's their page and they can do what they want. And that's true. But you are not free of the consequences of such statements. You're not free of what would happen to you. And we see it a lot, especially in the US, where, these people would call the police on these other people and whatever, and then it creates a big uproar and they lose their jobs and stuff. And they say, well, it's their personal page and they can do whatever. Yes, but you can't do whatever you want and then showcase and then be associated with somebody else or another company that's not aligned with your values, right? And that alignment, I believe, is an HR function. You have to hire people that are aligned with their values. So whatever they put on their social media, whatever it is that they decide to put, yes, you cannot sanction it, but it will always be showcasing themselves and by extension, the company in a good light.
Makes sense. Do you think it's possible for people to be in a crisis and not be aware of it?
I would like to know, why would you not be aware of it, though? I mean, it must show glaringly. I mean, I know there are certain situations where, for example, there are certain crises where management is quite aware that their employees are disgruntled and they ignore it. They ignore it until it reaches a fever pitch. I have seen it. I have experienced it, right? That is also a type of crisis. So, and there's also a crisis where management might be involved in certain things and the employees doesn't know about it until things happen. So that happens as well. So I wouldn't say that you could be in a crisis and not be aware of it. It must come out at some point in the future. The thing is, what do you do? How do you respond to this crisis when it rears its ugly head? How do you respond to it? Because crisis management and crisis response is two completely different things. Response is how you respond when it happens. Management is the response, the planning, and the execution, and how you're going to fix things. Two separate things.
I asked because, for instance, I'm looking at the natural disaster in St. Vincent, the volcano, and you're hearing there are people in the I consider it to be a crisis, right? But I'm seeing people in the red zones and people have refused to leave. I look at the pandemic, that is the coronavirus that is basically across the world. It has affected lives, it has affected livelihoods, and economies they're trying to bounce back now. And I'm seeing in countries like ours that we have a COVID-19 vaccination available. I think you've started to get some on your end as well.
Yeah, we started, yes.
But we have one available here, and a lot of people are just not interested in taking it. I'm thinking, okay, we are in a crisis. If we have to move forward, the experts are telling us this is the route. So is it that people can be in a crisis and not realize you're in a crisis situation?
I think when you talk about things like that, you're dealing with human psychology. And part of crisis management is dealing with the public and your publics and how they're going to deal with things. So these people who are in the red zone, these people who are not taking the vaccination and just, they want to do what they want to do, but they don't want to take the vaccination. This is where the psychology of speaking to human beings comes into play. So in their mind, they know that it's a crisis, but they're not willing to accept that these are the things that you have to do in order to not be in a crisis anymore. This is psychology here we're dealing with. So for these people, you have to break it down into a practical sense. It can't just be, you need to take the vaccine. It has to be, these are the reasons why. And if you don't take the vaccine, these are the repercussions of such. There needs to be an entire education campaign and information campaign about educating people about the vaccine. It's not a matter of just telling people to take it, because there are some people that would buy into the conspiracy theories. There are some people who would just be like, my immune system is going to kick in, right? Because they're not educated. They're just going with their feeling. And for them, their feelings are facts. But what are we going to do? We, meaning the government, the people that know better. How are we going to educate these people to change their minds, right? That is also a part of crisis planning and crisis management. What is your PR strategy going to look like to encourage people to do what they need to do during a crisis?
Got you. I see the time is creeping down on us so quickly.
Yes! Oh my goodness!
Look at how quickly it's going. I just wanted to get in though. Is there a formula that you have that would be applicable to almost every crisis situation?
I would say yes. I call it my ABCDs of crisis management. Mm-hmm. Well, crisis response, sorry. A is act immediately. Act immediately, regardless of what the situation is. So, for example, if someone you know or you have said something that, rubs somebody the wrong way or whatever, apologize. You see it all over. Not just apologize, but apologize sincerely and take the weight of it. Don't try to pass blame here. It's your company. You take the weight of everything and apologize sincerely. The second thing is be visible. Be as visible as possible. So make the wrongs on social media, make the wrongs on talk shows, do press releases, get that information out. How people want to know how you're dealing with the crisis and how certain people could be, how people will be reprimanded, or how it is that maybe they could help, right? So put it out there and let people know that you're for them and be as visible as possible. C stands for change strategy, right? So whatever strategy that you had before, you now have to change it because of this crisis, right? So what is your new strategy going to look like? It needs to take into consideration what is happening in the world. In the example that you spoke about just now, these people who don't want to take the vaccine, what is the PR educational campaign that you're going to run to ensure that people do take the campaign, that they are part of something bigger and not just about themselves? What is the plan for that? There's a new strategy that needs to be developed. And D stands for don't give up. A lot of people think that when a crisis happens, that's the end. Oh my God, I can't move on. I don't know what to do. Don't give up. We have seen a lot of companies. Pepsi is one. H&M is one. There's so many companies that did a lot of craziness and they were able to bounce back regardless because they followed the ABCD. So don't give up. Do what you have to do. Stay the course. And worst comes to worst and you don't know what to do, call on someone, please, to help you navigate yourself through this crisis. Sometimes you're too close to your business so you can't see things, and you need someone with outside opinion, with a fresh set of eyes to look at the situation and say, this is what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a good strategy in itself. I want to go back to one, though, the be visible part. I think a lot of companies struggle with that one. In Grenada, you hear it's going to blow over in 8 days. A lot.
Oh, yeah.
So you just don't address it. And people, like they say, people talk for 8 days, it's going to die down. Is that a good strategy that you can use sometimes?
It is not, because people may not remember what happened, but they will remember how they feel. And they will remember the negative emotion that is going to now be attached to your company. So all of a sudden, you'll see sales start to go down and people just don't want to buy from you and you're not sure why. And they may not even remember why, but they just remember that they have a bad feeling about this particular company. So you have to get yourself back in those good graces. So show up, press releases, interviews. Social media is great. People don't use social media the way it's supposed to. You need to put the social back in social media, show up, build those relationships, right? Social media is a very effective tool for helping people know, like, and trust you and showcasing yourself the way you want to be showcased.
Okay. Before you leave us, I know you're an expert in the field and people are probably looking on and listening to you this morning and they're wondering, you're in Trinidad, can you offer your services to people in Grenada if they are interested?
Of course I can. Please reach out to me, guys, if you have any issues with your marketing, communications, crisis management, crisis response. Feel free to check me out on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Carly Communications, C-A-R-L-I Communications. And I'm also on my website at www.carlymedia.com. That's C-A-R-L-I media.com. And feel free to click the link above to book your free consultation. There's a chat with me link at the top. You can book your free consultation there.
Carla, we want to thank you so much for taking your time. It's so timely, you know. We have so much going on. I think a lot of people in crisis, a lot of people in financial crisis at this time, they probably need some advice, you know, just to get, they're probably too close to the situation. Sometimes people feel overwhelmed. Sometimes they just need a little bit of expert advice. And we thank you for making that available for them. And thank you for coming on the platform this morning. Enjoy the rest of your week.
You too. Blessings to all of you in Grenada.
Thank you so much, folks. It is 27 minutes after 11. We take a quick break. But when we come back, we have more for you on The Buzz. Stay with us.
My granddaughter.
Tony out. There Jah goes again. He took me to a higher level, higher up. Already Father blessing me. Already Father.
The world is brighter. I'm so much lighter since you came into my life, Lord. I am not the same.
Blessings flowing over here like a fountain.
That's not how you cross the pedestrian crossing.
Really? One day I just woke up and I saw pedestrian crosswalks on the road. No one really showed me how to use them properly.
Well, this is how it's done. You never cross before doing these things. They might save your life. First, when you get to the crosswalk, you stop. You look left, you look right. If there's a vehicle coming, you put your hand out, making eye contact with the driver, indicating that you want to cross. And only when the vehicle comes to a complete stop, you quickly cross to the other side.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact. Wait for pedestrian to cross to the other side, then you happily continue on your journey. This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
That's not how you cross the pedestrian crossing.
Really? One day I just woke up and I saw pedestrian crosswalks on the road. No one really showed me how to use them properly.
Well, this is how it's done. You never cross before doing these things. They might save your life. First, when you get to the crosswalk, you stop. You look left, you look right. If there's a vehicle coming, you put your hand out, making eye contact with the driver, indicating that you want to cross. And only when the vehicle comes to a complete stop, you quickly cross to the other side.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact. Wait for pedestrian to cross to the other side, then you happily continue on your journey. This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
It is 29 and a half minutes on to that midday hour. And folks, this morning we are now joined by Mr. Marquez Cox. He is a pharmacist at the Hills and Valley Pharmacy in St. George's. Marquez, good morning and welcome to The Buzz.
Hi, good morning, and thanks for having me.
Yes, it's our pleasure to have you. We understand that you have great news. The pharmacy is stepping off in a new direction, offering more services to its customers. Tell us all about it.
Yes, we are. So we're offering a membership card, which gives all our customers benefits in the form of a point system.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually pays to stick with Hills and Valley. The membership card is broken up into different brackets. So customers will start off, let's say, in a basic bracket. You move up to maybe something like bronze, silver, gold, platinum. Each bracket would have an increasing discount you would get. And also, each bracket gives you a higher dollar value worth. So, for example, let's say the basic bracket gives you 10%, let's say 10 cents on a dollar. Then the bronze will give you, let's say, 15 cents on a dollar, and so on. So basically, the longer you stick with Hills and Valley, the more you get from your money. You get a higher discount, you get more points. Now, you can convert those points now to get different types of massages at our other branch, Medcare, where you can get practically any massage you want there. You can get facials, pedicure, manicure. You can even get a doctor visit with our in-house doctor as well.
And if I don't like massages and if I'm fit as a horse, I don't need to see a doctor. Could I get cash or other things at the pharmacy?
Yes, you can. Not necessarily cash, but you would be able to get other items at the pharmacy, whether it's vitamins and so on.
Okay, so I actually heard about the card last week, and I was excited because I thought, I like cards because to me you always win with them. You get back something, is either like you say discounts or points to be applied towards something else. But the little birdie was telling me about it was telling me I wouldn't qualify because I only spend about $10 with you on a weekly basis. Is that the case?
That's not true.
That's not true. That's false.
Everyone
news.
qualifies.
So how can we? How do you qualify?
The only difference basically is that someone who hasn't been with us often would start at a lower bracket, and the people that already been with us for a while, that are already getting discounts and so from us, they would start off at where they are because we have all their information. So they would start at a bracket that they're already at.
It almost sounds like a secret society. So you already have customers who get discounts. I'm learning because I consider myself a customer and I don't get discounts. So how do you qualify for the discounts to begin with? And you said they carry over to your card.
Okay, so we had a card system before. So the majority of the people who get discounts, they already had a card from back then. So basically what we do now is upgrading that service.
Okay. So is there an application process to get a card?
Yes, there is. So you go into any one of our branches and just tell them that you want to apply for a card. There is a small fee, which is $5. and we would call you back when it's ready within, let's say, 2 to 3 days.
Okay. Is it one of those ID cards that I can use elsewhere?
Yes.
So it's a picture ID. You take a photo as well?
No, we're not doing photos.
Okay.
But the reason why too is because we want to allow the card to be used by anyone, any family member, if you want a friend to use it also. The benefit in that though is that there's a downside and an upside to that. The downside though is that if someone uses your card, let's say, you're the one that's going to be accumulating points. You're the one that's going to be accumulating your discount, and they wouldn't. So it's going to be a loss on their end, but on your end, it's good.
Okay, got you. How was the card working again? So is it for every dollar we spend, we get a point?
You get something back. Yes.
Okay, so after like $50 or so, how much is that worth?
That depends, because let's say $50 would not be worth the same in the initial bracket than to the bracket at the end. So someone that's been with us for a couple of years, or someone that's spent a lot of money with us, would be, let's say, at the platinum bracket. And let's say the platinum bracket would be, if you spend $50, you have, let's say, 50 points. Just giving an example, right? But someone who's in the basic, if they spend $50, they may just have 10 points. So it's relative. Basically, the longer you stay with us, the more benefits you get.
Right.
And the easier it is to get the benefits.
Okay, so we have to get in the door first before we can be upgraded. And is there a minimum spend on it?
No.
Okay.
There isn't.
And when you say customers, people figure if I come to you once and I buy something, I'm a customer. Is it open to anybody?
It's open to anyone.
What about if you normally buy it for a minor, so you would qualify as well?
Yes, you would.
Okay, wonderful. Sounds good. And it's $5, 2-day processing fee. You get your card, and it's only applicable at Hills and Valley Pharmacy.
For now, yes.
Okay, remind us again where your locations are.
We are at Halifax Street, St. George's, Grenville Street, St. George's, and at Grenville.
Okay, the location on Grenville Street, is that the Medcare Center?
That's the Medcare Center.
Okay, the pharmacies.
Well, we actually have a pharmacy at Medcare as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Medcare has a pharmacy, there's a doctor, there's physiotherapy, and there's also the massage therapy.
Okay, so it's a complete service at the Medcare Center.
Yes, it is.
Got you. I always wondered. So the pharmacy on Halifax Street, the Medcare Center on Grenville Street, and then you're in Grenville. What's the street in Grenville again?
I believe it's Jubilee Street.
Jubilee Street, Grenville. Mm-hmm. And remind us again of your opening hours. Do you do Sundays as well?
No, we don't. We open at 7:30 to 7 p.m.
Okay, Monday to Saturday.
Monday to Saturday.
Marquez, thank you so much for coming on and enlightening us this morning on this wonderful opportunity. And folks, I encourage you to take advantage. Every dollar you save, it counts. It goes towards something else. And massages, and so we probably need them now more than ever.
Yes, you do.
Anything else you want to share with us before you wrap?
That will be it.
I think we've covered everything. Wonderful, folks. Mr. Marquez Cox, he's a pharmacist at the Hills and Valley Pharmacy in St. George's. And as you just heard, they've extended their, is it a benefits card we can call it? Or membership card, and it's available for all and sundry. Once you're buying medication, you're buying supplements, you're buying vitamins, you can save and you can gain points that can go towards massages and doctor fees and all those things that cost quite a bit. Again, there's a $5 processing fee. You get your card in 2 days, and just like that, you're saving money. Thank you so much for sharing with us this morning, folks. We leave it here for today. Those of you on television, we leave you now. Have a fantastic Monday. It's the start of the week, a brand new week. Keep it productive and have a safe one. Remember, the vaccination sites again are opened across the island. They're at the health centers, they're at the Radisson Beach Resort, they're at St. Augustine Medical, and for now it's free. Have a great one. Bye-bye.